Hi everybody, welcome back to another Cottage Garden Bella Box video. Today we're going to make the featured tote bag and one of the bonus projects. The tote bag that comes in your Bella Box can be used to make the Charming Blooms tote bag project, and there's also a bonus design called the watering can applique design. The Charming Blooms is made on a pocket and the watering can is an applique. What we're going to do today is make the Charming Blooms just as shown here. We'll embroider that, we'll make the pocket, we'll put the pocket on the bag, and then on the other side of the tote bag we'll use this fun watering can applique design and we'll applique this directly on the tote bag. Both of these designs can be made in a 5x7 hoop. Both have fusible backing. The Charming Blooms tote bag uses a sticky bag tearaway and the tan embroidery leather, which is a woven leather that comes in the Bella Box. You also need your tote bag blank, water-soluble pen, paper tape, and then I have my snips and my double curve applique scissors. For my needles on my machine, I'm using a Schmetz super non-stick needle. These work really well for me. They especially do a good job when you have lots of layers of applique and thick stitching. I already have this on my machine. We're going to go ahead and go over everything we need, and then we'll jump in and we'll start with the Charming Blooms tote bag pocket project. I've already starched and added fusible to the back of the pocket fabric. This does come in your Bella Box. For the watering can applique, I grabbed a charm square I had on my shelf. I starched it and put fusible on the back. You get your tote bag blank in your Bella Box. I did go ahead and starch this, press it, got it nice and flat. This is the starch that I like to use. It's a faultless heavy finish. It's a spray starch. I just give everything a nice light spray and then iron. The leather that's called for comes in the Bella Box. It's this woven leather, really pretty, looks like a basket. Embroidery leather is a PVC product. It's not an animal product. Timberbell fusible backing, and the sticky back stabilizer that I have for the sticky back tearaway is a new Bro thread self-adhesive tearaway. I've used this on several projects, works really well. I have my 5x7 hoop ready, and I have two sets of thread. Some of the colors are shared between the projects. I've got the tote bag colors in my Kimberbell leather snap tray. I have a video on how to embroider on a leather snap tray. I'll link that for you below. And my watering can applique in my hand-dyed embroidered rope bowl. I have videos on this. This is actually Kimberbell project rope that I dyed with Rit dye. I have a video for that and a video on how to make this rope bowl. I'll make sure that's all linked below for you. The thread colors are given as glide colors. The only glide color I had was white, so I'm using glide white. All the rest of my colors are Floriani and Sim thread. I'll hold them up as we work through the project, but in case you have the same kinds of threads, these are the colors I'm using for the tote bag. Anything with a PF is Floriani, S is a Sim thread. For the watering can, these are the threads that I'm using. I've got everything on an 18-inch square design board. I get these from Fat Quarter Shop. You can make them yourself. There's videos on YouTube, but I'll link these below for you. I'm going to carry this over and set it down by machine, and we're going to hoop our stabilizer for the Charming Blooms tote bag. Got my 5x7 hoop and my sticky back tearaway. Let me open this up. If you've never worked with a sticky back product before, like this sticky back tearaway, one side feels like fabric, one side feels like paper. It's the same thing with the sticky back wash away. There's always a side that feels like paper. The paper side faces up. So you need to load that into your hoop, paper side up. This will make crinkling noises. You want to make sure your hoop is nice and loose. This is thicker than a regular stabilizer. Paper side is up. Grab your hoop. And sometimes it slips back and forth quite a bit as you're trying to press it down. I usually press either the top or the bottom down first and then try and get the rest. Sometimes you kind of have to get on top of it and push down. And then I go around like this and squeeze it, make sure everything is together. That feels good. And get it nice and tight. You don't want this popping out while you're working with it. Next we need to expose the sticky part. I have a pair of scissors that I use to cut sticky things. I use this. You can use a seam ripper. You scratch it. They call it scoring. If you happen to put a hole in it, just stick some paper tape on the back, push it against it, rub it, make sure it's nice and secure, and you'll be fine. You can keep going. Just go all the way around. Once you've got it scratched, you want to look for a place to get it peeled up. This kind of has a bubble right here, so I'm going to see about lifting it right there. Usually I start in a corner, and you just go around and peel off all the paper. Sometimes it comes off real nice in one big sheet, otherwise in little pieces. Now you have the sticky part exposed. We're going to head over to our machines and stitch out the centering crosshairs. I'm on a baby lock meridian. Let's go ahead and bring up our centering crosshairs. We're working on the Cottage Garden Bella box. Here's our centering crosshairs. Go ahead and hit set and embroidery. We're ready to go. Our instructions tell us to stitch this out in a visible thread. I have a beige colored thread on my machine. I'm going to go ahead and use that. Once that's stitched out, we can go ahead and take this over to the table, and we're going to get our fabric ready. Grab your pocket fabric, lay it down right side up. We're going to measure from the short end 4 1/4 inches and mark that with a pin. Here's my 4, there's a 4 1/4. I'm going to line this up with the short edge, 4 1/4. It says to mark that with a pin. Once you've got that pinned, all we're going to do is fold it at that point. I'm going to line up that pin with this line on my cutting table. That'll make it easier. We're going to pull out the pin, give it a press. We're finger pressing it. You can measure it again at this point. You could probably almost do it without the pin. Make sure you've got 4 1/4. I'm going to bring that up. Let's have a look and make sure I've got 4 1/4. 4 1/4. Okay, we'll go ahead and finger press it. It says finger press the fold. This is fold A, remove the pin. Keeping fold A aligned, so like this, nice and straight, nice and straight. We're going to fold the pocket in half lengthwise, right sides together, and press. This will be fold B. You're going to fold it like this. So here's your right side, and you want to try and keep this all together. So I'm going to hold that and start at this side here. And then we'll go ahead and press. They're calling this fold B. So you fold A over here, fold B over here. We're going to grab our hoop. Here's the fold B, right sides together. Here's fold A. You've got your crosshairs here. We're going to use this section right here, lining up fold A and fold B. So fold A, lining up there, fold B, lining up here. When you open this, line up along that line with your fold, press that down, and then you can also see your crosshairs here and your fold here. You can kind of roll it, make sure you're keeping it straight. It's a sticky back. If you do it crooked, you can peel it up, that's fine. Nice and straight. You should have the excess hanging over the top of your hoop. Here's the part of the hoop that goes on your machine. The excess is over the top. Go ahead and press that down nice and secure. As far as the excess, you can roll this up and clip it. I think it's going to hang over the back just fine. I'm going to go ahead and take this over to my machine. Let's go ahead and load our file. I have my instructions next to me on my folding metal book stand, my Sippin' on Sunshine needle minder. We're going to load our basket file, and it's just the one file. We're ready to get started. We're going to start with the color cappuccino, and we're going to stitch out the handle fills. Once you've stitched out your handle, you want to switch to the color buttercup, and we're going to stitch out the flower 3 petals fills. We're going to stitch to the color coral and stitch out the flower 3 details. Our next color is aloe, and we're going to stitch out the stems, fills, and details. Our next color is amethyst. We're going to stitch out the flowers 2 petals fill. Our next color is going to be white. We're going to stitch out the flowers 2 details. The white just stitched out. I thought I pushed the button, but I did not. Apologies for that. You can see the white details right there on our flowers. Our next color is the raven, the dark purple, and we're going to stitch out the flower 2 centers fills right on top of our little amethyst flowers. Next is the color thyme, and we're stitching out the stems, fills, and details. Switch to baby blue and we're going to stitch out the flowers 1, petals fill. Next is the color Buttercup for the flower 1, centers fill. We're going to switch to Cappuccino. We're going to use this color through the rest of the stitch out. The first thing we're going to stitch out with Cappuccino is the basket placement line. You want to grab your piece of woven leather, make sure you cover that placement line. I'm going to add some tape because it curls. We want to make sure it stays in place. Then we're going to stitch the tack down line. Once the tack down line has stitched, you can remove your tape, and then we want to trim away everything that's outside of the tack down line. I've got that trimmed. I used the double curve applique scissors to trim that. Be careful trimming up here. You've got all your nice stitching, so make sure you're lifting that leather and then trimming really carefully. We're going to stitch out the basket decorative outline. The last thing we're going to stitch out are the basket details. We're all done at the embroidery machine. Let's head over to the table. The design stitched out beautifully. We want to go ahead and get this out of our hoop and remove the stabilizer. To remove this stabilizer, you tear it away. You just grab a piece, start the tear, just follow around the design. You can put your finger on parts of the design to keep it in place as you're pulling the stabilizer. I don't yank it, I gently remove it, work my way around the design, and then you'll have to decide if you want to remove everything that's in here. We're going to go to the front after we peel most of it away and see if the crosshairs are visible. I tore away everything on the outside, so there's still stabilizer here and here. Remember, this is going to be a pocket. Let's flip it over. Do I see crosshairs? I see the fold, and I do not see the crosshairs. If I happen to see the crosshairs, I would have gone ahead and peeled away more stabilizer and picked it out. You're not seeing them from the front because right here is your basket leather, and the other crosshair goes right next to the stem and up into the flower. So it's hidden. It's right behind that flower, which is good. It tells us to use a pressing cloth, press the previously stitched pocket fabric so that it lies flat. It's lying flat. I don't feel like I need to go press it. If you want, you can go press it. I would use a pressing cloth. You don't want to put your iron on this. And if you've got sticky back left on your embroidery, you don't want to melt it and get your iron all goopy. I'm going to go with it today because I know I'm going to iron it again once it's on the tote. It shows folding our pocket this way. So your basket will be facing you, right side up. Here's the other edge. We're folding it to cover the basket. We're going to meet the ends right here. I'm going to press that down. You're going to have a really nice fold right there. I'm going to grab some clips. You can use pins or clips. I like to use clips. We want to clip it on the fold and on the sides. This is just to hold it. We're not stitching here. We're going to be stitching down the sides and then over to about here. We're leaving an opening at the bottom. It says 3 inches. Let's grab a ruler. Here's 3 inches. I'm going to center it around the basket. And I'm going to use a pin to mark that instead of a clip, so I know not to sew there. And I will add clips to the sides. We want to take this over to our sewing machine, use a 1/4 inch seam, go back and forth, stitch all the way down the sides, go until you hit here, and go back and forth. I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera. That's a really straightforward stitch, stop, make sure you do your back and forth here and here. I've got that all stitched. I went back and forth, down, around the corner, back and forth. It tells us to clip the corners to reduce bulk. We're going to be flipping this right side out, so you can clip a little bit off the corners. Be careful not to cut your stitching. If you do cut your stitching, just go back and fix it at the sewing machine. Don't worry about it. Corners are clipped. And then we're going to turn it right side out through the opening. This is why you want to go back and forth here and here, because when we push this through, we've got this embroidery leather. It's going to be a little bit bulky, Just take your time with it. It shouldn't be too difficult. 3 inches is a good opening for this. And then once you've got it turned, you want to grab a blunt tipped object to help poke out the corners. You can use a purple thing. I have a clover tool. The name of the tool is escaping me at the moment. It's called the clover point turner. I remembered. As soon as I turned off the camera, I remembered. So you can use that to help poke out the corners. Everything's turned. It's all nice and wrinkly. We're going to want to use a pressing cloth and press this. If you don't have a pressing cloth, you can use a bath towel, a couple layers of regular fabric. You just don't want to put your iron on this embroidery leather or your polyester thread and melt it. I've got my pocket all pressed. I went ahead and pressed it from the back, and then from the front, I went around the outside. Be really careful not to touch the embroidery leather or the polyester, and just made sure it was all pressed nice and flat. We want to go ahead and attach this to our tote bag. If you want, you can set this aside and attach it after we stitch out the watering can applique, but for the sake of continuity in the video, I'm going to go ahead and attach this right now. I've got my tote blank. You want to lay it right side up. The wrong side is the flat side where you don't really see the straps. The right side has the strap detail. I'm going to go ahead and turn it with the handle at the top. I'm standing over here, and make sure that the other part hangs down over my table. You don't want to accidentally sew your pocket through both layers. It tells us from the top edge to measure down 3 inches and make a horizontal line using a water-soluble pen. I'm just going to use my ruler. 1, 2, 3 inches. Line that up along the top edge like that. That's where your pocket is going to go. It just about fits in between. It doesn't quite fit in between. See right there? So I've got a little bit of overlap on either side. I'm going to make sure that that's straight across the top. That looks nice and straight. We're going to add some pins along the side to make sure that it stays in place. For this, I'm going to use the butterfly pins that came in our Bella box. They're thicker and stronger than the little pins that I normally use. And we're going through a couple of layers here. So I want to make sure that this stays in place. I'm on this side now. I can walk around the table in this room. Make sure you don't poke a pin through that embroidery leather. We're going to top stitch the side and the bottom edges. It says 1/8 of an inch from the edge, removing the pins as you sew. Do not sew the top edge because the top edge is your pocket. And we want to make sure our raw edges are folded in and that we catch this as we're going around and sewing. A couple things you can do. If you think you're going to use this, pretty heavy, I would actually go around it twice. You could do a straight stitch, back and forth, go all the way around, back and forth, and just do it again. If you have a machine with a zigzag stitch, you can zigzag off and on the pocket, and that'll make that a little bit more secure. I'm going to go ahead and just do one round with a straight stitch. So I'm going to go back and forth, down, over, and then back up and back and forth. I'm in the new room. We're going to stitch our pocket. I've got a really nice view out there. Got some shears up to help with the light. I also have some white curtains when it's too bright in the morning because this faces east. Let's go ahead and sew on our pocket. This is a 1/4 inch foot with no guide. So it says to try and get 1/8 of an inch. What you want to do is make sure that you get your pocket anchored down. Try to make it go straight and that there's not too much flipping up from the side. When you're using a foot like this would be the 1/4 inch right here. So 1/8 of an inch is kind of in the middle of that prong. I'm going to needle down. I want to be just outside where that pocket is landing because I'm using white thread. I'm going to take a couple stitches. And then I'm going to go back. There, so I'm back off the pocket. Now I'm going to go back on the pocket and go straight, and as I sew, I'm going to take out my pins. Now, this is about how fast I go if I'm not using a guide foot. Take your time with it and do your best Remember, this is your project, your bag, and even if you're gifting it to somebody, they're going to be looking at this, they're not going to be looking at this. Let's go all the way around. You can see I'm coming up on my corner, and my corner kind of wings out a little bit. That's okay, it doesn't bother me. You can sort of pull it, make it a little bit straight, but then you're going to have a bump here. So I like to try and make sure it lies flat, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it just a bit and make sure I get this corner tacked down. I'm not too worried about that being a little bit crooked. It's going to look good. I want to get to the end, and I'm actually going to go back and forth just a couple. Make sure it's nice and anchored, and then we're going to lift up the foot and turn. Now you can see this kind of curves out. I'm going to go ahead and bring this down a little bit. Again, it doesn't bother me that it's not totally perfectly straight. It's really going to look good. Now I can straighten that out, go to the end. When you get to the top, you want to do the back and forth thing again. Off the pocket, back on the pocket, and then off the pocket. Here's the pocket. It looks great. A little bit crooked over here. That's okay. Your folded edge is at the top. Looks great. Fully functional pocket. Now at this point, if you don't want to embroider the watering can applique, it's one of the bonus designs. We're going to do that next. You can look below the video to the chapter markers and skip to the bag assembly. But since we're putting a design on the other side, we can't sew this together yet. Hi everybody, I went ahead and edited out about 5 minutes of the video. It was where I was trying to figure out where to place my watering can design. I ended up placing it too low on the tote bag. I would recommend you measure down probably about 3 inches, have a look, make sure that's the right spot for the watering can, and then you can do the folding like you see me doing here. That will give you a center mark. And I use that to line up with the center of my hoop. I'm going to load another piece of the sticky back tearaway. We're going to use the same type of stabilizer for this. So remember, paper side up. If you want, stitch out some crosshairs. I'm not going to stitch out some crosshairs. My hoop has marks right here, 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 and here, and I can see my mat underneath. So I'm lining it up. We're lining up here. We're lining up here. I can see where my center line is and where that line is, and I'm just going to lay it down really carefully. So there's my fold. That's going to match up here, and then this fold I want to match up here along this line. It's like I've stitched out the crosshairs because I can see the lines on my cutting mat. I'll go ahead and put that right there, and I can double check. There's that little tab, nice and straight along the line of my cutting mat. That little tab, and then this right here, and here's that fold line. And then you can visually check it too. Double check before you put it on your machine. Here's the top of your bag. That's going to hang over the back. We'll make sure this is clipped out of the way, and then when I put this on my machine, I'll be careful and make sure that this handle goes up and over the back. Let's go ahead and bring up this file. Set, embroidery, and it looks like the first color we're going to start with is going to be coin. Coin is a silvery light gray color. The fabric for my watering can is a dark gray, so I picked a little bit of a darker color to match my fabric. I've got this loaded. I've got the handle hanging off the back. I went ahead and rolled this up a little bit more and clipped it. It's a little bulky because we already did the pocket portion. We're going to start out and stitch out that handle detail. Leave the color coin on your machine and stitch out the watering can placement line. Cover the placement line. We'll stitch the tack down, and then we'll trim everything outside of the tack down line. I've got that trimmed. I went ahead and rolled this. There's a clip up near the top, right there, nice pink clip, and I've got a clip down here at the bottom, holding that together. I added a clip here and a clip up here, and then I have the handles clipped together, and I double checked to make sure they were hanging off the back. That was our only piece of applique, so we do not have to take this on and off our machine. The next thing we're going to stitch out is the watering can satin outline. We're going to start with the greenery. This is the color I picked for clover. It's a little bit brighter than what I use, but I have the other spool I used for clover somewhere else. We're going to stitch out the greenery, details, and fills. I'm going to switch to the color time. I picked out kind of a medium olivey green for that. We're going to stitch out the greenery B fills. Switch to aloe, and we're going to stitch out the greenery C details. We're going to switch out to cool mint and stitch out the watering can details. That looks really good. I was worried that was going to be too light. It almost blends into the tote, but you can still see it. We're going to switch to baby blue and stitch out the flower 6 light petal fills. I'm going to switch to Hawaiian blue. We're going to use this for the next 2 steps. We're going to stitch out the flower 6 dark petals fills and the flower 3 petals fills. 2 steps on your machine. I'm going to run them together in the video. This is looking really nice. We're going to switch to the color aloe and stitch out the flower 6 base fill. Next is Sun-Kissed Peach, and we're going to stitch out flower 2 petals fills. Going to switch to the color bubblegum and stitch out the flower 2 outer center detail. That's all stitched out. Apparently I didn't push the button hard enough. We're going to switch to the color blush, and we're going to stitch out the flower 4 petals fills. We're going to switch to pink lemonade and stitch out the flower 5 petals fill. We're going to switch to buttercup for the last 2 steps. I'll run them together on the machine. We're going to stitch out the flower 2, 3, and 4 centers fill and flower 1 petals fill. That's all going to be in buttercup. We're all stitched out. I've still got it in my hoop. I'm 4 inches from the bottom and about 5.5 from the top. So I should have moved that up. If that happens to you, you still got your project in the hoop. You've got a little space up here. If you want, you could put I Love Gardening or Tote Bag Rocks, something fun up there. Make it look intentional. I'm going to go ahead and go with it. We need to get this out of the hoop and get rid of the stabilizer. Something kind of fun about tearaway. Look at that. I can tear it out of my hoop. That worked out pretty well. I just want to go through and get a little bit of this extra. We're going to put our bag together. You want to go ahead and put right sides together and line everything up. Line up the top and the sides. You can pin, you can clip, whatever you'd like to do. I'm really big on clips. I like the clips. I've got both sides clipped. What's really nice about this blank is it's serged. Your edges are going to be nice and clean. You want to go over to your machine. So with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, I would go back and forth, so back and forth, and I would do it again. I have 50 weight Aurifil thread on my machine. I want to make sure that the bag is going to hold up, so I'm going to stitch it twice. I ran 2 lines of stitching. Here's what that looks like. It looks like I didn't quite line that up just right. I did better on this side. We're going to box the corners. I would say this step is optional. If you want it to have straight sides and a straight bottom, and you don't mind that it's a flat bag, you can absolutely stop here. By boxing the corners, it's going to give a little bit of a wider bottom. We'll go ahead and box the corners. Keep it right sides together. Open the bag, put your hand inside the bag. Now, I've showed you how to do this before on my video where I make the bag that has the pockets on the inside, and I show you how to custom make a bag. I'll go ahead and link that below. Let's line this up nice and straight. Here's the center of my bag. Here's my seam kind of lining up with the center. And they have us measuring 2 inches in and then marking. So 2 inches from the end, and then we can make a mark. This is the water soluble. It'll come off with a spray of water, and then we're going to pin it because as soon as we move it to get to the other side, it would come undone. So you want to make sure to add some pins just to keep it in place. I just flung pins all over the top of this cutting board. Then we'll go around and we'll do the other side. We're going to do the same thing. You're going to take this over to your sewing machine, go back and forth, sew right along that line, go back and forth, and I'm going to do this one twice as well. I always like to sew some of these bag seams twice. It helps make it a little more secure. I've got both the corners sewn. This is what it looks like. We want to go ahead and trim this away. Make sure this is nice and flat underneath, because if you lay it down and you don't notice there's another part of your bag underneath and you cut your bag, you're going to be pretty irritated. So make sure that's nice and flat, and give yourself, I'd say, at least 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to line up my 1/4 of an inch. Double check, make sure I'm not cutting anything I shouldn't be cutting. 1/4 of an inch away from that line. At this point, if you want to spray it with water to get rid of the water-soluble pen, you can. I'm going to leave it. I can do that later. We're going to finish our project. Make sure it's nice and flat. 1/4 of an inch away. Go ahead and trim that. I'm going to turn mine right side out, see if it needs a press, and then bring it back and show you. Let's have a look at our bag. Here's the second side we did, where we did the applique straight on the bag. The only thing I would say about this is move it closer to the top, maybe measure down 3 inches just like the other side, and then center your design based off of that. Let's look at our pocket side. Came out great. It's beautiful. I love the embroidery leather that's woven. Really neat, beautiful touch. The embroidery came out great. Good size pocket. Just for size reference, here's a rotary cutter. Fits right inside. If you've got glasses like readers, they'll fit right inside. What a fun project. Thank you so much for joining me today to make the Charming Blooms tote bag, and we used our watering can applique design on the back. I also have videos on my channel for the Enchanted Cottage layered scene, the butterfly, and the dragonfly plant pokes. I have a playlist going for the Cottage Garden Bella box. I'll make sure that that's linked for you below. We're working our way through all the designs. We've got the jar toppers left to make, and our butterfly pillow, as well as the wildflower seed stitch out and the home tweet home stitch out. Let me know if there's anything in particular you would like to see next. Thanks again for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share with your embroidery friends, and a big thank you to Kimberbell for providing this Bella box. I'll see everyone next time. Bye!